Say S-U-G to A to B-A-B-E-S. Sugababes. Hello to all my angels who need to wash their faces. You're watching a new episode of ElliXia's Discography Dives, a series in which we dive into the discography of some of my favourite artists. This season we are talking about one of the biggest girl bands to ever come from the UK, and that is the Sugababes. In the lead up to the 20th anniversary re-release of their debut album One Touch, I'll be looking back on all of their previous studio albums and diving in to see what makes them great. Last week we discussed the girls' debut album One Touch, and now we have a new member on the team, and we are discussing 2002's Angels with Dirty Faces. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and do all that good stuff. I am ElliXia Q Valentine. Today's look is inspired by the album's sort of colour scheme. Now, there isn't really much of a colour scheme with this album, but I mean, that text is kind of green, kind of matches my hair. And I wanted to go for a bit of a darker look because some of the videos that we will discuss for this album, such as Freak Like Me and Round Round, have a little bit of a more edgy, I don't want to say spooky, but definitely a bit more of an edgier vibe. Like, I sort of feel a bit like a vampire, but like a nice vampire. Angels with Dirty Faces was released on the 26th of August 2002. It reached number 2 in the UK albums chart, becoming, at that time, their highest charting album. It gave us the incredible smash hit singles Freak Like Me and Round Round, both of which went to number 1, as well as the double A-side single Stronger / Angels with Dirty Faces and Shape. This was also the first album to feature new member, former lead singer of Atomic Kitten, Heidi Range. Angels with Dirty Faces, I feel like, will be the first album probably a lot of the fans heard, because it really was an album that broke them through into the mainstream. I mean, they were kind of already mainstream, but I mean, it catapulted them to the top ends of the charts in a way that One Touch didn't do. To add some context, just before promotion for One Touch was about to wrap up, the girls were on tour in Japan, doing promotion over there, and Siobhan decided to leave as she was unhappy. And despite the rumours, not via the toilet window. I'll forever be sad that the toilet window story wasn't true. Mutti and Keisha, however, weren't ready to pack it in so easily. They wasted no time. They did not let Siobhan's departure derail them, and they got a new member in, Heidi Range. Before we knew it, work began on the group's second album. And it's quite amazing to think about, really, because this album was definitely make or break. Thinking back to that time, 2001-2, a lot of groups that had launched in the 2000s or like late 90s were basically coming to the end of their lifespan. Some of them before they even really got started as well. There are several other girl groups who also launched in 2000, such as Girl Thing and Made in London, and Female with the @ symbol for an A, because 2000, who basically went as quickly as they came. And sort of the period from 2000 to 2002, we also saw the end of a lot of quite big pop groups who had been doing very well up to that point, such as Bewitched, Steps, The Honeys, All Saints, and of course the Spice Girls. Really, by this point, the only girl groups who were still doing well were Mystique and Atomic Kitten. So enter Sugababes 2.0. With this album, they were able to save themselves from ending up on the proverbial early 2000s pop scrap heap. And I, for one, could not be more grateful. But of course, with all that being said, let's dive in to the track listing. We open the album with Freak Like Me. Now, Freak Like Me, now I do not say this lightly, but Freak Like Me is one of the best pop singles ever. Ever, of all time. Not just in the UK. It is so fucking good. I don't even know where to begin. It's actually a mashup between Adina Howard's Freak Like Me and Gary Newman's Our Friends Electric. Genius behind this was Richard X, who wanted to release the mashup of the song using Adina Howard's vocals, but she actually declined the usage of them. So, enter the Sugababes. And this version, these two songs together, which I don't think I would have ever thought to put together myself. I mean, I was too young at the time, so I don't know. But listening to both songs separately, I wouldn't think, oh yeah, they go really well together. but it works. Freak Like Me is an electronic, aggressive, meaty, hacking chonker of a track. The subtle, crackly electronic intro gives you about sort of 10 seconds to make peace with the fact that your wig is about to be well and truly snatched off and burst into flames. Honestly, Freak Like Me is nearly 20 years old, and I still listen to it to this day and still get chills. I still feel like, oh yeah, when I listen to it. It's so good, and the video is great as well. The video shows Keisha and Mutia in this sort of like underground club. They're all dressed in like sort of like leather jackets and like cool clothes, and they see this new girl in the crowd who is Heidi, and they're eyeing her up. And then Keisha goes over to Heidi and starts a little bit of an altercation. They then take Heidi and basically like wrestle her down to the ground. And it's sort of revealed that the girls are kind of like vampire-ish kind of creatures. It's never really like explicitly shown what they are, but they bite things and are very aggressive and have quite superhuman strength. And Keisha and Mutia have recruited this new lady into their now complete trio. And it's such a great and cool way to introduce a new member into the band as well. It gave the girls their first #1 as well. I can tell you actually how much I loved Freak Like Me back in the day. I only heard the song sort of like through little snippets on TV. I didn't have the CD single because it wasn't brand new anymore. You couldn't find it easily in the shops. But I really wanted to hear the song, so like I would be like desperately trying to find it on the radio or something, because this is before we had Spotify and this is before we had YouTube, so you couldn't just easily look up a song. Eventually though, I managed to get the album with my pocket money. I bought Angels Dirty Faces solely for the purpose to be able to listen to Freak Like Me, and oh, it was worth it. Oh, it was so worth the wait. On to track 2, we have Blue. Blue is a lot more subdued, I would say, than Freak Like Me. Freak Like Me gets off to a very explosive start, and Blue is a suitable follow-up, I think. I think following up any song like Freak Like Me on an album is going to be difficult, but I think Blue is up to the task. Blue is a very good track too. I don't really know like sort of how to explain that further or specify that, but it works well as the track #2. I don't know why. It just does, okay? It addresses the subject of somebody who is maybe a bit jealous of the girls. Maybe someone they used to know who maybe wasn't that great to them back in the day, but now that the girls are famous, this person suddenly wants the piece of the action, and they're like, well, no, actually, no, you can't have that. Middle 8 contains this little rap portion where they sing very fast and the vocals are quite turned down, so it's kind of hard to actually understand what they're saying. And then I found a live clip of Blue, of them singing it at an MTV event, and I was like, oh good, finally, maybe I'll get to hear what they say. You ever find like with songs, sometimes you can't quite decipher the lyrics, but then you hear them sing it live and you're like, oh, that's what they say, okay. But instead of doing the rap, Keisha just goes, when I say sugar, you say babes, sugar, sugar. And it's just like, oh, that's one way to get out of doing the rap live. Honestly, MC Keisha coming through way before Honey G, just saying. We are then blessed with track #3, Round Round. Another perfect pop song. My goodness, like how do you follow a fantastic single like Freak Like Me? You release an absolute banger in the shape of Round Round. Round Round was produced by Xenomania, and it was probably Xenomania's first really big production that was a huge success. Xenomania probably best known for producing the vast majority of Girls Aloud songs, as well as doing some very big hits for people like Kylie, Sophie Ellis Bextor, Alicia Dixon, Gabriella Chilmi. Xenomania's work in general is some of the best pop music that the 2000s have to offer. And Round Round was that first song that really like put them properly on the map. Round Round is just so good. Haven't got a clue what the song is actually about. The lyrics don't really make any sense, and that's kind of the point. The three of them just went away and wrote their parts and then put it together. Often was the way for a lot of Xenomania productions, where they would have a lot of their songs would be sort of formed of different verses from different songs that they've written, and just somehow it would come together. It's sort of one of those songs where like the lyrics don't really make much sense, but you don't really care because it's a banger. Who actually cares? No one.
I don't care.
The production of the song is quite intense. It's quite, I don't want to say chaotic, but it's very energized and it's very grand. But the Sugababes vocals are really, really nonchalant. So it manages to master that fantastic contrast of the two. It's a song you can dance to loads whilst having like resting bitch face. It's brilliant. And then it randomly has this like breakdown for the middle eight where it kind of just becomes like Falling by ElliXia Keys. But it works really well, and then it goes back into the standard song. I just think it's genius. I love pop music that really, really pushes the boundaries of what people expect pop to be. Moving on, we have track 4, which was the album's third single, Stronger. Now, I absolutely bloody love Stronger as well. The 3-single run of Freak Like Me, Round Round Stronger is just like, wow. They're mines. I love it. Stronger addresses being independent and being on your own and being okay with being on your own, and using that time to grow and to become stronger, and maintaining positivity when looking to the future and taking new risks. The song very much suggests new beginnings to me, and I really, really like that. And what I also love about Stronger is it's very, very subtle. It starts off very, very calm, and is it trip hop maybe? I'm not really sure. I'm not fully qualified when it comes to genres, but it sounds a little bit trip hoppy to me, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's quite ambient. I think it's ambient, I think that's right. But the song does build and build and build, and it reaches this climax that isn't over the top, but it's still very powerful. It's not a song that screams and shouts because it doesn't need to. It's a song that I've always turned to when I've been feeling pretty down. There have been times when I've been feeling down and I've listened to music on shuffle, and Stronger has come on and it's been like, oh, this is exactly what I needed. This song is what I need to calm the anxiety down and let me just know things are going to be okay. And if you're somebody who knows me personally or has seen me live, I perform Stronger quite a lot. It's one of those, if in doubt, sing Stronger. That's kind of my philosophy. And of course, I have to give a special shout out to the iconic Heidi ad-lib of me. There's the iconic live video. You may have seen, if you're a Sugababes fan, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're not a Sugababes fan, but you know me personally, you also probably know what I'm talking about because I've referenced it several times. The clip where she's like, me, and it doesn't sound great. And Keisha's like, you go girl. Iconic, legendary, amazing. On to track 5, we have Supernatural. Supernatural is good. I enjoy it. It's kind of one of those songs where I don't really feel like the lyrics mean that much. It feels a little bit generic lyrically, but it's enjoyable. It's a solid album track. It's not a single, and it's not really a highlight, but it's enjoyable. It's very mid-tempo, a little bit 2000s, you know, you got like the distorted guitars and effects and stuff. I will say though, watching them sing it live, the song really did come to life and it sounds much better with a live band. Yeah, it's kind of like inoffensive. It's good, but that's kind of all it is. I wouldn't say it's anything better than good. We then have track 6, which is the titular track, Angels of Dirty Faces. Angels of Dirty Faces was the 3rd single, as a double A side was Stronger. It was only a double A side in certain territories, but in the UK we had it as a double A side. It also was a song for the soundtrack to the Powerpuff Girls movie as well. And the music video is entirely animated, set in the Powerpuff Girls universe of Townsville, where it features mini animated Sugababes saving the day. Angels of Dirty Faces is good. It's very sort of slinky. It talks about being innocent, but having a secret dark side. And it has a fantastic spoken word middle 8 as well. With the type of girls don't think, just say. Everything we want, we know we get our own way. sexy, classy, don't think you put it past me. Angels in the day, but at night we could be nasty. And also in the intro, we have them say their names, Keisha, Mattia, Heidi, and it's like, well, that's good in case you weren't aware, in case you sort of forgotten with the lineup change who was who. Next up is track 7, Virgin Sexy. A very conflicting song for me. It's one of those songs that's kind of awful, but kind of brilliant at the same time. It basically addresses the subject of losing one's virginity. A subject which, appropriate, because they were 17, 18. That's the time when a lot of people do start to lose their virginity, so, you know, it makes sense for them to sing about it. It's got like a sort of sexy energy about it, where it's like, it's not a losing my virginity song in the respect of like, oh, this is really special. It's kind of like, no, I want to be a whore. And it addresses sort of like that fear of doing it, but also the excitement as well, is that combination of excitement and fear. I say it's kind of brilliant and awful at the same time, because it is a bop, like production-wise, it's a banger. Some of the lyrics are a bit cringy. When I was a virgin, I loved it. But that was a long time ago now, so. The lyric, it scares me like Freddy. Really? Like, I'm not being funny. Assuming they're talking about Freddy Krueger. I think Freddy Krueger is more scary than losing your virginity. Like, I know which one I would rather do. I know which one I'd rather be confronted with. Just saying. And it is just a bit like, it's definitely a song that they could only sort of pull off at that age. Again, I think if it had been on any other album after this, it would be cringy for sure. We then have track 8, which was the album's 4th and final single, Shape. Shape samples Shape of My Heart by Sting. I believe the chorus is actually his voice. I think it's lifted from the original song. I have to say, I do actually love the stark contrast and change in tone from Virgin Sexy, which is all to Shape, which is very soft and sweet. Shape addresses like materialism and not really needing material goods. It's not the shape of their heart. The video is cute as well, actually. It features them in some sort of like masquerade ball. Looks a little bit Baz Luhrmann and Tim Burton-ish in a way. And they've got dresses that are made out of butterflies. And they're the only people at the ball whose faces you can see, aside from these other boys that are like interested in them. But in the end of the video, they just run out and like fly away. I don't really know what's going on. Shape makes me very nostalgic because I remember I listened to the radio a lot back then. I was in year 6 and I listened to the radio a lot back then when this single was new, and they played it a lot. So I always get a little bit of that nostalgia ting when I listen to it. I also must say as well, I love the live version that they did, where for the last chorus, it becomes up-tempo and it becomes a little bit of like a samba number. That's a really cool version, and it's a shame that there isn't like an officially released version of that. Moving on to track number 9, we have, is that number 9? Yes, it's number 9. I can count. This case is so broken. But I was 11. We have Just Don't Need This, which was actually a bonus track in the UK. Does it say that on here? No, it doesn't say it, but it was a UK only bonus track, I believe, outside of this country. The other places didn't get it, but we did. I really like Just Don't Need This. It addresses the situation of a man who is perving on them a little bit. They're like, I don't think so.
I don't fucking think so, darling. I don't think so.
And they're throwing a lot of shade at this man as well. One of the lyrics even is, the problem first starts with your dental. As a 90% of the time male presenting individual, I don't tend to experience this, but I have witnessed it a lot of times, and I can imagine a lot of girls will know what I'm talking about. When you get sleazy men who are probably quite a bit older, eyeing up girls in pubs and being a little bit like, ooh. And even like trying to talk to them, being like, all right, love, as if like they stand even a fraction of a chance. I mean, I haven't experienced that myself, but I did work for a very well-known pub chain for a year or two, and I used to see it a lot. I think Just Don't Need This addresses that kind of subject really, really well, because it's quite sassy, but it's not over the top sassy. It's very much in control and it's very much a firm, I am putting my foot down and you are not gonna get this. You ain't ever gonna get this candy. It's a great song. I think it could really easily fit in on 3, the follow-up album as well. We then reach track number 10, No Man, No Cry. This is probably the weakest song on the record, I would say. It's not bad by any means. It's, you know, it's an acceptable track. It's a little bit filler-esque. Would the album be worse off without it? No. But is the album worse off for having it? No. It's your standard girl group fodder in the respect that it's like dealing with a no good man. One of the Sugababes' best strengths, I think, was putting down no good exes, and No Man No Cry is a good example of that. Then on to track number 11, we have Switch. Switch is another little sassy number as well. Not so much about talking about no good guys, but just not settling for second best. It talks about switch if he don't please you. You just ditch. So it's basically like, oh, is your man really boring you? Well, then just screw him and go on to someone else. And then when he starts boring you, screw him and go on to someone else. Lather, rinse, repeat. I like Switch. It works well. Maybe if there had been a 5th single from this album, that could have been a contender for it. On to track number 12, the penultimate track, we have More Than a Million Miles. I quite like More Than a Million Miles. I've never really like properly gelled with it, but it's nice. Harmonies on the chorus sound really, really good actually. The vocals sound great. Addresses the subject of a guy who they really like, but he's often quite far away. I like the lyric, your ambition is the thing I like to see. Because it's like, I think it's great that you're following your dreams, but like, are you gonna be able to make time for us? We have an iconic moment where Keisha brings out her rap skills once again and does a little bit of like MCing. I mean, she's no Miss Dynamite, but it's all right. Does it ruin the song? No. Am I sad that we don't really get to see much more of MC Keisha after this? Also no. And that actually segues quite well, because we have the last track on the album, which was also the first B-side from the album as well, which is Breathe Easy. Now this one is a lovely one. It's very chill. It's very much another one of those Sunday afternoons on a summer's day, just chilling with the window open. Talks about not wanting to move too fast with life and sort of just being happy where you are at that moment. I think it is a really sweet song. So the version that was a B-side, it was firstly a B-side to Freak Like Me, which is quite funny to me because it's like the polar opposite of that song. The Freak Like Me B-side version has like a proper backing track to it, but the album version, which is known as the acoustic jam, is what it says on the jar. It's acoustic. Those versions work really well. There's not, because the song is already quite, well, very chilled in its vibe, there's not actually that much of a difference between the versions really, so either or is fine. There's also a great moment in the middle 8 where Mutia sings, if I was a little wiser maybe, and she sounds just like Siobhan. Like the first time I listened to her, I was like, is that the ghost of Siobhan? Is she back? But then you listen to it properly with headphones in and you can tell it's Mutia. It's just Mutia back then could sometimes sound like Siobhan, as we found on One Touch in a few songs. And that moves us away from the album's main tracks onto the B-sides. The rest of the B-sides, of course. We have Groove Is Going On, which is the B-side to Round Round. Very nice and chill, again. Nothing amazingly special, but a very nice song to just chill with. I don't go out of my way to listen to it, per se, but it's the kind of song where like, it often comes on my shuffle and I don't really skip it because I'm just like, yeah, it's nice to listen to. I like how the intro of the song starts with Keisha spelling out S-U-G to A to B-A-B-E-S, Sugababes, just to make sure that you're aware that there's no R in Sugababes. It's just funny to me because like the word and the name Sugababes isn't really something that I think lends itself easily to being spelled out in a song. You know how like Iggy Azalea is like, and the I-G-G-Y is like, that works because it's short and snappy, but S-U-G to A to B-A-B-E-S, bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Bit of a tongue twister, try saying it 5 times. Another moment I love in Groove Is Going On is, there isn't really a middle 8, but you can just hear like recordings of the girls like talking and like gossiping with each other. You can't really tell what they say because it is sort of lost in the mix. But you can hear, it sounds as if Mutia is talking about a guy who she either got with or gave her his number. And the other girls, especially Keisha, is like, Mutia! And then Mutia's like, no, wait, he's really nice though. I just think it's a really nice touch because, you know, it's easy to forget they're young girls listening to this album, but that's like a nice little reminder of like, oh, okay. I wonder if that guy was really nice, so that is the question. Mutia, if you're watching this, and you can remember, let me know. And lastly, we have the song Killer, which is a cover of, oh fuck, who's it by? I did look this up. The singer is Seal, but it isn't Seal. Seal's not the artist, he's like the featured artist. But it's the one that goes da 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 da. You'd know it if you heard it. It's a really famous song. This cover was a B-side to Shape, and it was also featured on the Enemy War Child charity album as well. It's an okay cover, yeah. It's one of those songs, I think, where it's probably kind of hard to go wrong with it, really. It's quite a classic, isn't it? So, yeah, I didn't really have much else to say about it, to be honest. And with that is the end of Angels and Dirty Faces. A very successful era, a real breakthrough era for one of the best girl bands the UK has produced. It's not an album that is perfect, you know, there is there are sprinklings of filler here and there, and a couple of misses, but overall, it's a very good album. It's very cohesive, and it's home to 3 fantastic singles in the form of Freak Like Me, Round Round, and Stronger. They're 3 of my favourite songs ever, I would say. And the rest of the album could be shite, but it would be okay because it's got those 3 songs. Those 3 songs will make up for it. Thankfully, that isn't the case. And that concludes this week's episode of ElliXia's Discography Dives with me, ElliXia Q Valentine. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment if you... No, don't leave a comment if you didn't enjoy it. And don't forget to tune in next week when we will be discussing the girls' 3rd album, released in 2003, reaching number 3 in the UK albums chart, and aptly titled 3. Once again, thank you very much for joining. I've been ElliXia Q Valentine, and of course, as always, as if you need reminding, except you do because none of you do it, please book me. Mwah.